I'd like to invite my co-panelists on, Sebastian Fahey, who's the MD of Sotheby's, Bouhanna, and Spalter. So I think we were supposed to have someone come in virtually, but that's not happening. But we're now going to be, it's us three and me. Yesterday we focused on what is an NFT, like starting to really understand this concept of NFT and digital art. And today we're going to have a broad overview and a focus on the NFT space, the marketplace, the community, and everything that's around it. And I think it's very interesting because, as you all know, it's everywhere in the news. So I just wanted to start with you, Sebastian, because it's something that it's better for, like, as we mentioned, I'm getting like a PhD in NFT art and I'm learning all about this and I knew nothing before coming here, which I'm loving. So if I go to an art gallery, I'm able to buy a painting. So if I want to buy an NFT, where do I go? How do I go about buying it? How can I maneuver this world?
Sure. There are multiple ways to buy NFTs, and we're seeing collectors come into the NFT space in multiple different ways as well. One way that you can buy an NFT is directly from the artist, and many artists are producing websites where you can mint an NFT directly, so primary directly from the artist. There are a number of open marketplaces. One of the most popular, and an example is OpenSea, where it's sort of referred to many times as like the eBay of NFTs. This is an open marketplace with no curation, all EVM compatible, so all NFTs that are minted on the Ethereum blockchain appear on OpenSea. They can't be hidden from there. They can all be discoverable from there. You can purchase, you can make offers on NFTs that are sitting in a collector's collection, even if they haven't listed it for sale. And then there are curated marketplaces. An example would be Nifty Gateway, Super Rare, Maker's Place, where there is some curation of what drops or what projects are sold on those marketplaces. These are normally smaller in size in the amount of works that are shown on there. Sotheby's started selling NFTs in April of last year after watching the digital art space growing and the communities around digital art collecting growing tangentially to the traditional art world. And in October of last year, we launched Sotheby's Metaverse, which is a platform, a Web3-enabled platform, where our collectors can purchase NFTs, where we hold our NFT auctions, and this is a rapidly developing space where we are looking to make it as easy for our traditional collectors of art to purchase using credit cards, for example, or providing a wallet to our collectors so they don't have to download their own crypto wallets in order to store the NFTs, although they can choose to, but also making it as easy for the traditional crypto native collectors to access the heavily curated, and Michael will touch on this a little bit later, heavily curated auctions and primary releases that we will sell.
So usually, like, I come from the auction world, and whenever we include works at an auction, we usually curate a sale. We try to get certain artists or include things that are in demand, or we try to like really put together something that the collector base is looking for. So when you look at a sort of an NFT sale, is there a curation involved? What defines an NFT sale? How can you put an NFT sale together? And what's the curatorial idea behind it?
Yeah, I think it's first we have the same like logic in our traditional sales, in a sense that we select the works that are in a very high demand. We are like very focused on the high end of the market, selling NFTs for 100,000 and more. We've made like a number of records, like with the Bored Ape sold 3.5 million, etc. So we are really at this level of the market. But at the same time, it's like so like an early ecosystem, like a very young ecosystem, like a medium that is only like a few years old, etc. And we are in a position in the ecosystem where it's a bit we feel that it's our role to really educate our traditional audience, but also the NFT space and all the collectors of NFTs to like the history of NFTs, the different movements. And so every sale we do is like very highly curated in a sense that we try to unveil some different aspects we have observed in this market. Like we've done like a first sale, for example, in June, where we did like a retrospective, natively digital. So it was from the first NFT, then discover like we were unveiling the different movements we observed, like smart contract art, generative art, pop digital art, etc. It was selecting every time the best works from the best artists to make this sale and really to help bringing some curation in an environment where there were at that time no curation at all. Like it was OpenSea, like Nifty Gateway, like one of the platform that attract the wider audience, people that are not from crypto, etc. They were like launching a lot of NFT projects, many artists, but at the end they were not really like high-end curation in their selection. So we tried to bring that in the market. And another curated sale I made, it was in October. And that time I really wanted to unveil a bit the very important aspect, which is like who are the collectors in the space. Like there are like a number of collectors who are extremely influential in the NFT space, who have built like collection of thousands of NFTs, and we just know them through an avatar and an alias name, so we have like no information actually what's their background, how they get into art, etc. And so I've made a sale where actually I curated the collectors, and they all each collector selected 3 pieces from their collection that tells the story of their collection, of their vision for the NFTs, etc. So it was like also like with some editorial content, with like interviews of them, etc. Many people from the NFT space and traditional world really understood who were these like market makers sometime of this space. And so it's really our role to like continuously trying to educate more people to it and bring also some order in this NFT space where like it goes a bit everywhere, because every day there are like a new actor wanting to make a marketplace, a new like sometimes there are like some great ideas, etc. But at the end it's like a lot of works and artists coming into the market. And it's important that we really focus on guiding the people who comes to buy, and so they select the right work for their collection.
So I just want to let you all know we have a digital art legend with us tonight, Anne Spalter, and she's not really saying. I like just understood who Anne Spalter is. So really, she is a legend in this world. She is an academic. She's a collector. She's an artist, and you have artworks in your collection that predate the internet and they're digital art. That years. For me, I didn't understand that, because how can there be digital art before the internet? So that in and of itself, I don't understand. So Anne's just gonna can you give us like a bit of an overview? And if you haven't had the chance, Anne's work is also in the retrospective we have here in the back. So please make sure to see it, because again, I don't think we understand the gravity of it. She's huge, like massive, okay? She's
the OG.
She's the real OG, and she's with us here tonight. So thank you so much for coming to Saudi and joining us. And I would really love to hear your viewpoint about the history and really how digital art started, and we're now talking about it in the terms of NFTs.
Thank you so much. It's a huge honor to be here in Riyadh and see this exciting city and everything going on, and to visit the amazing Biennale next door. And to talk about NFTs, which, as you know, have just burst on the scene and been so exciting and attracted so much money that it almost seems like there was no digital art before them. But in fact, artists have been using computers since the 1960s and under very difficult circumstances. So it's not like today where they had a smartphone or even a personal computer at home. They had to have access to large mainframe computers in different institutions, a corporation, or working through the military. They often had to go in at night to be able to access the machines. One of my favorite artists who we collect, named Vera Molnar, who turns 98 this year, started making digital artwork in 1968 because her husband was an engineer, and there were riots in Paris, and his company shut down, and she got to go in and use the equipment. But it's hard to imagine now the challenges that those artists faced. And then after they made the work, which was often very geometrical and generated from algorithms, just a list of instructions that often incorporated some randomness as well to make kind of, beautiful geometric works. When they tried to show them, they were met with unbelievable resistance and hostility. That's hard to imagine now that computers and visual graphics on the computer are part of everyday life. But at the time that they were creating this artwork, that wasn't the case. And because the computers were identified with big corporations and the military, the art world was very loath to consider these things art at all. So a little bit like the beginning of photography, where people said, oh, anyone can press a button, so how is it art? There was a feeling that the hand wasn't involved, no traditional techniques were involved.
And can I ask you just to get the mic a bit closer to you?
It wasn't really artwork. And we collect an artist named Manfred Moore who made works in the 70s, gave a talk in Paris about his work and had an egg thrown at him. So it really had this, people have a visceral negative reaction to the entire idea of using a computer to
When was
create
it? When
artwork.
was it that normal people started using a PC? It was in the 90s.
But 1984, the Mac came out,
Okay, so
which helped that enormously, although there were personal computers before that.
so it wasn't until like the 90s when it became so mainstream to have a computer. So before that, it was it was a world apart.
When I went to college, I brought a typewriter, it was, yeah. But there were these artists and making these fantastic bodies of work, and they were not able to show their work. They're sort of like the Impressionists, they weren't able to show their work in the academy setting, so they had their own separate art shows and gatherings and all knew each other. And that's been the case for decades. Very slowly, museums have started to incorporate these early works into shows and sort of work them into the art canon, but it's really been under the radar. And as a collector, we now have almost 1,000 pieces of work. We didn't think there would be that much interest in it for a long time, but suddenly with NFTs, everyone wants to know when computer, artwork really began. So it's had a huge impact on the credibility of this early artwork, which is very exciting for us and of course for those artists, many of whom are still alive.
So I have a question. So for us to move, when did it go from being digital art to the word NFT? Is this something very recent, or is this not as recent?
So recent.
So before before digital art, before NFTs, it was just digital art.
Yeah, there weren't really NFTs as we know them now until Ethereum was created in 2015. So 2016, there began to be the kind of NFTs that we are now all talking about, although there were some technical things before then.
Yeah, the very first file that has been considered an NFT is in the exhibition that we have here today, which was minted on May 3rd, 2014, the work by Kevin McCoy, Quantum. That is well known as being the very first NFT produced, but that predated Ethereum. It's been moved on to Ethereum since. But I think for artists, for many digital artists, there was no way before the technology of NFTs to bring their work to market, to assign value to it, to be able to trade, to pass from artist to collector, to be stored in a way that could be commodified and owned and then assigned value. And I think what we've been seeing particularly over the last 18 months, but over the last sort of few years, is this value lag of the appreciation of digital art that's been running back through the 60s, through this technology of now having the assigned value that a collector can make on it, which has seen this huge rise in both appreciation, in collecting, and the values have been following that, which has been making the headlines and bringing more and more active wallets, active people into the collecting space. There is an estimation of around 3 million wallets that have interacted with NFTs, which there may be less than 3 million people because some people have more than one wallet, but that's the kind of level of people. So there's still a long way to go there's a lot of people that will continue to come into collecting NFTs. This space will really grow from here. An average monthly user from the metrics that you can see is around 300,000 people actively collecting, unique wallets actively collecting each month. But these numbers are really growing, and specifically so in the last 12 to 18 months.
So if I'm a traditional art collector, would I buy an NFT? And if I'm an NFT collector, would I buy traditional art like a Kondo or a Rothko or any other artist? Do we see that crossover, or is that crossover that's not existent in this market as of yet? I know, Michael, you can touch upon that.
Yeah, I think, and we'll see like more and more like this crossover happening. Like I think like every week we have like a client at Sotheby's, like traditional collector who realize that there is something happening with the NFTs, like because everyone is talking about it, but also there are some great artists really starting to use the technology and who build like who create some great works, and they have like interest in the art, etc. And like we see, like there are some barriers still, like for a new collector to come in, like setting up the MetaMask wallet to host. Like there is some security that we need, like for high value work that needs to be insured, etc. But at the end, like there is increasing demand from the traditional collectors to start collect NFTs. Because at the end, like they really, and I think they're right, like they really see this as a new category. Like we have collectors like who are focused on like contemporary art, but canvas, sculpture, prints, photographs, and they can just open up to a new category, which is like digital art. It's like a movement that has decades of history, and now they can like efficiently collect it, resell it, and it has like some value attached to it. So. It's like really just a new category, and the same way we have all this like NFT audience that is raising mainly from the crypto world, from who are like NFT natives, or from the gaming industry. Like it's a new audience, very young. Like our bidders and buyers at Sotheby's for NFTs are 10 years younger than our traditional collectors. And they are more like, it's very global, but they're like more from the tech background or the crypto background. And they are starting also because we do some sales where we have NFTs and contemporary art. So they start also to look at contemporary art, and they really appreciate also start to be educated to some artists and to buy extra. So there are some crossovers. I don't think like it's like two very separated audience like it was maybe last year. It's getting like there are more crossovers, and we'll arrive
the
at the time.
Giacometti, for example, that was in the Maclo collection. We had this beautiful Giacometti. Was bought from a crypto.
It was bought by Justin Sun, who's known like for like he's one of the main crypto guy who has like a blockchain, and he bought for 78 million a Giacometti, and that he like at the end he kind of donated to the DAO that he formed. So it was very interesting to see this kind of move from a crypto billionaire buying some very traditional art with the Giacometti.
We'd been watching the community around NFTs really growing around us, and after the first sale that we held in April last year, the bidders in that first sale came from 38 different countries, and we were sort of astounded by just how global this collecting, the knowledge, the understanding, the desire to build collections for NFTs was. But by the end of last year, 44% of the lots that we sold, the NFTs that we sold, were sold to traditional collectors who had bought art from us previously. So there is that crossover on both ways. So Sotheby's is not a digitally native company, and many of the NFT marketplaces that we were talking about before, these have established themselves as Web3 companies that have come into the markets in the last 2 to 3 years. Sotheby's is a 278-year-old auction house. Actually, we went to the palace today and saw the first state was also founded in Saudi, was also founded in the same year in 1744, which was news to me, but it just shows we've had this long history of curating what the
now is needed.
What is now?
Because we started as selling books, and then we moved on to furniture, and we moved on to Impressionist art. And then when contemporary started, everyone was like, what is this madness you're selling?
It actually took us 100 years to sell our first painting.
Exactly. So just to let everyone know, Sotheby's started as a bookseller.
Like Amazon.
Like Amazon, exactly, a marketplace. The thing I keep hearing over and over again is the word community, community, community. What is NFT community? This is like a word I keep hearing from everyone in this NFT world. So if anyone wants to take that, I would love to better understand what is community.
I would comment on that. Having been in the traditional art world for a while, when I created my first NFT and started getting involved, I was amazed at how friendly and welcoming and supportive the NFT community was. And I don't know how long that will last with it exploding in size the way it is, but it's still, I think, largely that way now. And the people that started it are just so enthusiastic about the concept. And you'll see if you get involved, there's a lot of technical challenges. Go on Twitter, and you can literally post on Twitter, can someone help me with this? And you'll get like hundreds of people willing to lead you through every step of the process because they want you to join in this crazy adventure that they've started. So it has a very different vibe to it of people really trying to help each other that's not always present in the traditional art world. And artists trade a lot of work. So
yeah, you said it was very interesting because like in the contemporary art world, like I wouldn't be able to go to an artist directly to buy the artwork from her or him. I'd have to go through a gallery, and there's a whole process to it, and there's a whole etiquette to it. So it's not the same in the NFT world. I can just reach out directly to the artist and
and you can do it at like 2 a.m, just the way you would use Amazon. So instead of having to go find a physical gallery in a big city like Riyadh or New York, go in, have someone kind of look down their nose at you and have to ask what the price is of the work and be told maybe they won't sell it to you because they don't know you. And there's a lot of really bizarre protocol in the traditional art world. You can be online because you have insomnia. You could see something amazing that you love, and you can own it in seconds after that. It's like really fun, I think.
There's a lot of transparency.
Yeah, it's a really fun process, and it's great for the artist because you wake up and there's money in your wallet, and it's magical, and you don't have to wait weeks or months or years for a gallery to pay you. So the speed of it and the 24-hour, a day.
No shipping, no export,
no customs, no crating. And,
no storage.
And it's very addictive.
No buyer's remorse.
If you start doing it,
there could be buyer's remorse that you never know about.
But then you can sell it. It's also easy if you buy a work of art that's not by a huge name artist and you decide you don't want it 3 years later. It's really hard to sell it. I mean, Sotheby's doesn't sell sort of average artwork. There's no market for middle range artists to resell their work. It doesn't exist. In the NFT world, you can, if you put the price low enough, you'll be able to resell your piece.
So, and sorry that I keep coming back to you, but you're like a fountain of knowledge. But can we explain like the difference? Like this was something I was struggling with, video art to digital art. So like my initial misconception was video art and digital art, there's a lot of similarities, there's a lot of crossover, but apparently that's not the case, that I was a bit mistaken in that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons that the digital computer artwork was so reviled, and video art, which seems like it would be technically maybe similar, had a completely different trajectory in the art world. It started out analog with video, just like film, so it wasn't digital at all in the beginning. Sony came out with a camcorder that the average artist could own, not like a movie camera, and that was really the beginning of video artwork. And it drew on experimental film and TV, things that people were familiar with. And the artists that started doing it were already very conversant in the language of the art world. So they made pieces that they could discuss in a way that curators and museums understood. Whereas the early digital artists often came from more scientific, technical side and didn't speak that art language, which I think was another reason that they had a hard time showing the work. So video became accepted pretty quickly, and nobody complained that you could make a copy, which is interesting. So you can copy Betamax and get not maybe an exact replica, but pretty good. They just don't let you. you know, you get a certificate of authenticity. You can
Yeah,
have
absolutely.
limited
With video art, you
editions.
can have 8 editions, you can have 4 editions,
Yeah.
and you can also see the video art itself if it's available on an institution's website, whatnot. But
So Bill Viola, he could make an infinite number of copies, and he could make digital copies now, but he doesn't, and it's managed to maintain its value and not have any issues really with replication. So I'm not even sure that the replication singularity issue was what was keeping digital artwork from being successful. I think there were a lot of different factors.
do you think it's because of the institutional backing of video art? Is that why
Yeah.
video art had a big uptake versus digital art? Is that the big difference, the institutional backing versus the non-institutional backing of digital art?
Yeah, I think video art came into museums and galleries, and nobody said it's not art at all. We won't look at it.
There was also a familiarity as well.
Yeah, because everyone has a TV, but not everyone had a computer when artists started using the computer. And there's this wonderful family, the Kramliks, who started collecting video art and really were very active proponents of it. And sort of like, you know, Gertrude Stein with Picasso, they had a big influence. So I'm hoping that our digital art collection, we are very proactive, and all the pieces are online at spalterdigital.com in an effort to make the work accessible to curators and students and everyone to see what all this early work looked like.
So if I now own an NFT and I want to live with this NFT, so you have a lot of NFTs, personal. How can I live with this NFT? Like, do I put it on a TV screen? How am I gonna, like, do I have to create a room like what we have in the back? Like, how can I live with NFTs hanging in my house? Like, I love paintings in my house, but how can I live with NFTs?
I think it's a very personal taste. I think there are many collectors out there very happy just holding their NFT collection in their digital wallets, and you know, you can see using your phone, your computer, you can through certain websites, you can then see your collection that way. There is a huge amount of investment going into digital galleries right now, and they are increasing in ease to use, but also usability. There are Metaverse galleries, and we have a immersive room that you'll see next door with some of the examples of exhibitions that we as a company have held in Decentraland, and they're on a loop on a big screen in there, so you can get an idea of how our clients and collectors walk through our exhibition spaces with there is a direct replica of our buildings in Mayfair in London, where the digital works are displayed, and you can walk up with your avatar and get information about the works. You can watch the live streams of our auctions. But increasingly, people are bringing their NFTs in home, displaying on screens within their homes. And I think this is going to have a huge step forward in how people collect and view and enjoy their artworks once they come more. There is some technical changes that needs to happen with the screens themselves. Most NFTs are square. Most screens are built for widescreen. And there's a lot of research and development.
Old TVs are, remember old TVs were square, so maybe
they can come back, the big box.
The big box can come back.
The big box is hard to put on the wall.
Yes, definitely hard to put.
But there is a lot of investment going from tech companies in NFT screens, and more of this will be seen. And I was looking at a residential home site the other day, was this home in LA, which came complete with a huge NFT gallery. People are displaying and using and enjoying their digital works at home.
And can you share your personal NFT?
How we just,
yeah.
I don't think I have any NFTs displayed in my house except for ones that I made myself. It's actually very challenging. You would think, especially because video art has been around for a long time, and digital art of many flavors, that there would be wonderful screens. So if you bought a digital video, you would get a terrific screen that was really easy to install in your home and use. And that has not really existed to the extent that you would think. So I played with something recently called a Mural Screen, which is now owned by Netgear. And it's a beautiful quality screen, and you can load in your NFTs and digital artwork. It's not square, but it looks terrific, but it is not easy to use. I spent hours setting it up, and I use technology all day long, every day. There's a company called Infinite Objects, which is a fantastic company that will put your NFTs in a screen encased in acrylic. And it has the advantage of being super easy to use. There's no buttons, there's no remote control, and they look nice and they're pretty small. So I think that's been a nice way to show them, but there's definitely a way to go, and there's business opportunities, I think, for people that figure out how to show these things easily.
And Samsung have just announced just a few weeks ago that they will be converting their frame, which has been a screen that they've used for a while that you can display digital art on, but in a wallet-enabled way, so you'd be able to display the works that you have already collected instantaneously without using a third-party program to display.
Yeah, I've tried some where it attaches to your wallet, and I guess that's good if you make a specific wallet and only put things in it that you want to display. But if it's just a general wallet that you're using, it brings up everything in the wallet. You can't select some and not others, and
So sorry.
it's not ideal.
So my wallet has 10 NFTs, and I want to display one of them. I can't single-handedly pick one to just display. The wallet will keep displaying everything, or can I just pick one to display? How would that work? Or
In the screens that I've used, it just goes through everything in your wallet.
Okay, so everything would
I'm sure that will be improved upon in the future, but it's kludgy right now.
Okay, understood. So I want to also touch upon this term projects. I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but there are projects. So artists are producing projects, like the Bored Apes is a project, the Crypto Punks are a project. So Michael, Sebastian, and Anne, anyone who wants to jump, what is a project? What defines a project, and can we elaborate on that?
Yeah, so I think like there is like an artist have like different way he can like initiate a new creation. Like there is one that is very familiar and very common. It's because it's when they release like a number of editions coming from the same project, so the same based works, and all the works are connected together through like a same narrative. So for example, you have like the one that is very famous, the Bored Apes Yacht Club. It's 10,000 generative portraits of apes that are all different, all unique. They all have different of combination, etc. Then there is some that are more scarce than others, and there is a market gamification. And it's where actually we go back to the community and how it is important, because there is like 10,000 NFTs coming from the same project. You have also, like in this case, maybe around 5,000 or 6,000 collectors who are sharing the same interest. And then it's like one community, the Bored Ape community, and they defend the project, they try to regroup. In that case, for this project, for example, when you are the owner of this token, it grants you also access to some special events, some utility, some merchandising. So they wear like a sweatshirt with the Bored Apes logo, and like it creates like a whole community environment that is like very that is also helping the whole project in getting in value, because the more strong is the community and the more visible is actually the project then. And that's like one type of movement that I would call collectibles. And then you have some artists like Anne who are more, I would say, like fine art. On the side of fine arts, they release some one-ones, so some unique works. And it's very different type of collectors, because sometimes it's then higher price point, but also it's more about the aesthetic and the concept, the technology using the generative art or the blockchain technology, etc. So there are different movements, and but yeah, in the market, it's quite interesting because we know that it's like it's like, I think a good share of the market is actually in the collectibles, because it's extremely liquid and transactional. Like there are like Bored Apes, even though like the bottom price to buy one must be around $150,000, but there are like a few sales a day. So if you think like in weeks, in months, like the volume of trading is enormous. So at the end, when we heard about the billions of gross sales volume in NFTs, etc., sometimes these projects actually take a lot of share of this total value. And that's one thing is like important when we look at all the projects that exist, etc. Is that they are like the blue chip, the top selling, etc. And there is a base of like lower price works that like needs curation, I think, and that will be interesting to see in the future how they get picked up by different actors.
Yeah, to put that into context, Sotheby's sold about 60,000 unique works last year between fine art and luxury items. OpenSea, which is the biggest platform, biggest open, as I said before, like it's termed the sort of eBay of NFTs, did over 8 million trades in on the Ethereum blockchain alone, in the $12 billion that they sold of NFTs last year. Just to put that 12 billion into context, the whole NFT market in 2020 was 180 million. So the rise that we saw last year has been, really a meteoric rise in the collecting and the value creation of NFTs.
Yeah, it's almost as large now dollar-wise as traditional art market, which is
I think
hard to comprehend. This happens so quickly.
Exactly. The traditional art market is about 60 billion each year, and NFTs accounted for 22 billion of additional trades last year by most metrics.
So sorry, everyone, I forgot to mention this. On your seat, there are POAPs, proof of attendance. Please look at the instructions. If there's anything I'm missing, please make sure to you scan it on your phone so you can add that you've attended.
Yeah, so a POAP is a proof of attendance protocol. It's an NFT in itself. If you have a crypto wallet, you can add your wallet on the website. Or if you don't have a wallet yet, you can add your email address, and you can download an app where your NFT that says that you have been at this forum will appear. Many crypto conferences or crypto events are using this POAP, and many collectors are showing their crypto journey by what's in their wallet of places that they've attended and the POAPs that they've received. So we wanted to ensure that you all had a POAP for this for being here tonight.
So back to the topic of exchanging hands. If I now buy a painting, okay, I buy it from Sotheby's, I buy it from a gallery. So I contract it, I sell it, then I move it. And then the movement of the painting from, there's no way I can sell the same painting over and over again 10 times within the span of 1 month. It can't happen. That can happen in the world of NFTs.
Without the friction of trading that we have in the traditional art world. So I'm just using an example. Damien Hurst had a 10,000 unit drop of his first NFT project, the Currency. So these 10,000 units were sold within a 48-hour period, but then over the 4 weeks that followed, those NFTs were traded another 22,000 times. Had those been physical items and we distributed them to collectors, and then they came back and they were condition checked, photographed, put back into an auction, marketed, that would take many months, if not years, in order to achieve the same sales volume. And as Anne mentioned before, the NFT market does not sleep. It's 24/7, 365 days a year. You can be buying something in Costa Rica right now, attach your wallet, it's in your wallet instantly. If you compare that with buying something even on Amazon, which is, you're waiting a day or 2 days or 3 days for it to arrive, depending on where in the world it's coming from. This is instantaneous. This goes from wallet to wallet. An NFT could trade from one collector to another collector to another collector in the course of an hour, if there was a reason.
In a borderless community, which we know it's very tricky in the art world with moving of art. So it's the community, we talked about this, but now my last question is the galleries. So how will the big 4 galleries react to this NFT world? Like, I'm very curious, will Hauser and Wirth start selling NFTs for their non-traditional artists? How will galleries react to this NFT world? Because as you said, it's a huge market, 22 billion versus 60 billion of the regular market. So how will they respond to this?
No, it's quite interesting actually to see that all the main galleries haven't really started to sell NFTs or to have a disclosed strategy on what they want to do with NFTs. There is Space Gallery, who've done one release for one digital artist they have in their gallery, but it was very an isolated project. And I think it's the ecosystem for NFTs. It's like still extremely young. You have like the collectors that exist from the beginning. It's like a growing community, like a community that grew a lot through the past year and month. Then you have there is all the like the artists and the creators, the developers that are very important in the ecosystem. And then there is like there isn't really the galleries or the middlemen. Like there are the marketplaces, like we said, like Super Rare, etc. But I feel like what we see actually, it's like the main collectors that became through the social media, some influencers. Like there is one that is called 888, for example, is like a major collectors, and progressively, actually, he fills the space of a gallery, meaning that he has his like list of artists, he buys most of the works of the artist, then he releases a vitrine website where he shows all the works, and progressively he creates a community like to defend the works to this community and to sell them the work. So actually I think this is like still an ecosystem that is forming, and we see some leading collectors taking the shape of a gallery, and so there might like the traditional art galleries might maybe not like be in this ecosystem, or they will, like us. Actually we come from the traditional art world. And we took like a position in between the NFT space and the traditional art world. Yeah.
I think that's fascinating, actually, that it's like a blurring of the line between artist and collector and gallery. I hadn't thought about that.
We don't have that in the traditional art. Like you don't have that very much as a gallerist can be a collector, but you won't be seeing his collection. Actually, they're quite private about their private collections, gallerists.
Yeah. And artists do buy each other's work, but several artists, I thought, oh, but we're going to trade work, and it never happened. You have to go to their studio and figure out sort of the value difference or whatever. In the NFT world, artists trade work all the time. So there's very few artists that don't collect. And also when you sell an NFT and get Ethereum, it seems like fake money in a way, and then it makes it even more tempting to buy NFTs with that money. So most artists also have an NFT collection, and then I think people who get involved in the scene from whatever angle they come in, a lot of people felt visually creative maybe in some way, but weren't really encouraged or thought they have to know how to draw or have some traditional training, and then they realize there's this big marketplace where they can be visually creative in any way that they want and attract an audience. So there's a nice blending, I think.
So we've now spoken for around 50 minutes. I would like to open the floor for questions, because yesterday we had a lot of questions, and I want to give the opportunity for everyone to ask questions. And I see a lot of hands. I see a sea of hands. And we have mics. If we can start, can we start with Dina, because we want to also thank her for supporting us with this project.
Absolutely.
Like, really, really thank you so much.
I have a question that goes to maybe something that you've all been saying, and this goes back also to the history of art. Whenever there's been an innovation in terms of technology or medium or whatever, there's always been maybe resistance in the beginning in terms of it, accepting that. And this push-pull that exists now in how we think about traditional art versus digital art or NFTs. And going to the reference you made about Damien Hurst's project, one of the things that was quite interesting about his project was he gave the option of, after a year, you could either keep the NFT or trade it in for a real traditional artwork. When is the date, and how will we know what happened?
It passed.
So the way this worked, he a few years ago, it's a project that's been worked on for a number of years, but a few years ago he created 10,000 spot paintings, each sort of around shoebox size, and stored them in a vault. In order to release the NFT, an NFT was made of each, corresponding to each one. Each of these are paintings, so they vary slightly. So as they dry, there's drips. The colors used on each one is slightly different. An algorithm was put through the entire collection that showed the differences between them. So which has more yellow, which has longer drips, which has more crossover of the spots, which allowed each unit on the blockchain to be distinguished and have rarity. This all worked very well in the sort of crypto project sense that we were talking about before. But the buyer of the NFT was able to then, over the course of a year, to trade the NFT for the original painting. So if they burnt the NFT off the blockchain, they would have in return the original corresponding piece to keep in their collection. And you know, the point over this period of time is, so they're in the point at the moment where after, I think it was after the first 3 or 6 months, the trading where they were able to convert the NFT into the original item is now happening. But there is a point, which is a year after the project starts, where if you haven't redeemed the original, you would then keep the NFT for the future. And that's going to be the decision. And then we will see how many people decide to keep the NFT and how many people decide to keep the original.
But we don't have those percentages yet.
Not
I'm
yet.
curious.
No.
Okay.
Oh, good. I can still trade mine in then for a real painting.
No, I have you said burn an NFT. What does burn an NFT
It's
mean?
basically delete it from the blockchain. But
So-
the technical term is burning.
So then I'd keep the painting and no NFT.
Exactly.
Okay.
And vice versa. So if you keep the NFT, he destroys the painting.
Yeah. The
Oh, he's
painting
destroying the actual
The
painting.
painting will be burnt as well,
Physically.
for anyone who keeps the NFT. So it's like it's got that
That's sad.
conceptual. There's a choice there,
Yeah.
and that choice between the two is what makes this project very special, but also very fitting to the sort of ethos of crypto collecting.
But there's also a lot of pushback against NFTs. So there's enthusiasm and all this money, so it might seem like everyone loves them. But I've gotten basically hate mail from people. I'm destroying the environment. I'm participating in a Ponzi scheme. And there is, you know, negative associations that people have as well. So I think it is true with new technologies. People are suspicious and take a while to work it out.
Okay, next question. Can we pass it here? And well, it'll go back.
Thank you. Well, actually, kind of building on that point, I think Sotheby's has a particular perspective, a blue chip perspective on the market. So I work with a team of people here and in Cairo as well on sort of an NFT design studio. We call it Wizara. It's Arabic for ministry. But we've taken as our goal trying to understand how this technology can underpin sustainable livelihoods for artists kind of throughout the art world. My fear is that the potential of this technology, the promise of the technology, may be thwarted by simply using it to replicate some of the worst elements of the traditional art market. So the winner-take-all dynamics, artist precarity, linguistic barriers that make it difficult for marginalized communities to meaningfully participate. So I think as a community of practice, because I think we all have a stake in this, what can we do to make this a bit more inclusive and to actually not just reproduce the traditional art market, but actually create something maybe a little bit better as we explore this technology? So, thank you.
I mean, it's already been better from my perspective as an artist. It's already better with the ease of which you can, you know, put something up for sale and talk to your collectors. And I've seen artists also from many places that don't have big galleries from all over the planet be able to sell work, and some are actually making a living and a good living doing that. So I think it's happening. I guess the issue would be not letting it slip into some of the dysfunction of the traditional art world. But there's a lot of really positive things about it, especially for artists that were not participating in that world.
I think from our perspective as well, the education that comes around art, this type of forum as well. You know, we're really seeing. We've got a real desire to bring people together and to share information of what we're seeing in the market and in the communities. But I mentioned Costa Rica before, and the reason I mentioned Costa Rica is I was chatting on Instagram actually with an artist who his work is a little bit too edgy for the galleries locally. So he stopped making physical works and went back to his previous sort of digital trade. When NFTs started been accepted as a technology, as a collecting, he brought his artistic designs back into NFT form and then had a global marketplace. So he was able to mint his works, to put them up on known origin, and then to sell globally. He's now got a living. He's now gone back into being an artist again and doing what he loves and bringing his great works to form in their traditional sense as well. And I think that's to me that was a great story to see how it can keep someone in, growing in their artistic creating.
I have a question here, and I'm going to come to you. We're just passing the mic down.
Thank you. Thank you. So as a collector, when you buy digital art or traditional art, usually you buy it for the story behind it or the artist itself and how many years he spent. I noticed some of the NFTs that was sold for $500,000 is basically a simple painting that has been done over Microsoft Paint or so on. I'm not undermining it. I know that art is subjective and depends from one to another. What determines the price rise, and what do collectors benefit from buying a simple art that can be created by anonymous user and so on? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to comment on that. I think it's actually very interesting, and also because it's very new, and also the collectors and the audience sometimes don't have necessarily the history of art education, or are not looking at what was happening in digital art before NFT existed. And it's a movement that has decades of history. And this is where curation is extremely important, and also to explain the importance of the work, the artistic interest of every work, is making sure that the NFT artist is actually adding something, using maybe the medium, the new medium, the blockchain technology, or this new technology he has access to enhance his work that he was not able to do before, or to do a continuum of what the digital art, looking at what's been done before and adding something, so there is a continue to the history of art. And it's true that it's not always the case, and you can see some artists having a huge success, even though it's they are doing something that's been done already many times in the past, etc. But that's what happens when there are not many curators, the museums are not here to put their stamp on and explaining to the wider audience what's happening in this new medium, in this new movement. And so it will come with time, and we try to fill this role by doing these curated sales. And I would not be surprised that in the next couple of years, the main museum starts to have a real strategy in how to educate people to this new movement. Yeah.
And we can then see curators, and we can see a whole different facet to it, except not only being a digital art created, because we talked a lot about crypto native and digitally native. So these are people who are understanding the language versus someone who's like me, who's not crypto native or digitally native. So
yes, but it's true that then also there is a new audience. So, and this new audience have different tastes, different interests, and so there are new components on judging the quality of the works, the community, the utilities, that if you just study the history of art you are not familiar with. So it's a balance between what actually this new environment brings in terms of art, the technology also, and then it creates then probably a new movement. But it's still very early. It's not very well defined.
thank you. I think we have a question in the back there. If we can pass the mic.
Hi. So just like Ms. Spalter mentioned about environment, I believe a lot of governments and institutions are criticizing proof of work blockchains. And Ethereum, 2.0 couldn't come any sooner. And are you Sotheby's thinking of utilizing other blockchains, proof of stake blockchains? They've proven that they're working well, such as Solana, Cardano, and also same question for artists.
Yeah, no, it's definitely at Sotheby's, like it's even in our traditional business, the environment is like extremely important. Even like we try like to not print papers, like etc. So it's like a main concern for the company in general, and then for the NFTs as well, knowing that today's like being active in the Ethereum blockchain is not as green as we would like. We are looking at some other blockchains, like you said, Solana or Tezos, and who offer these very green solutions. But at the same time, like it's not like yet. We think like it's not yet established enough, and like doesn't have the years of experience Ethereum blockchain has. And when we sell works for 500,000, 1 million, 10 million, 20 million, we really want to make sure our collectors will still hold these NFTs 20, 30, 50 years later. And we can't guarantee this with these other blockchains. So we are really looking into like the other layers of Ethereum when will come. And that's why we sold a very limited number of NFTs. Actually, we sold just 100 NFTs, so it has like a very little impact. And for large editions, when we'll come to make like some large editions, we'll do it on Polygon, that is a green solution.
And there are a lot of artists who use Tezos, which has a really great artist community and a lot of fantastic work. And the prices tend to be a little bit lower, but they've been going up a lot. So I would definitely look into that if that is your concern.
We've also been working with a carbon offsetting foundation, the Reagan Network, who assess all of our NFT sales and calculate the carbon use of holding that sale and ensure that there is a full offset there as well. But as Michael said, you know, the Metaverse platform that we've built, we've made sure that for larger editions of Polygon will be compatible in the first instance.
Do I have any more hands?
Can I ask another question?
Yes, you may.
Okay, so some marketplaces are working on incubation programs for NFT projects. Is Sotheby's thinking of doing something similar?
Yes, I think it really depends. Like we are, like our positioning is really like selling some already established artists and projects, and because it's like a similar business, it's a similar positioning we have in the traditional art. So we are expected, and we think we have some value to bring in this level of the market. But like the NFT has been also like an occasion to innovate in our business. Like we've been also like working very closely with artists and doing some first market release things that we do very rarely in the traditional art, where we leave this side of the business more for the galleries and we respect the ecosystem. So we with the NFTs actually we come to innovate in the market and have like different new roles. So we could potentially we could like incubate like some new project in the future. Yeah.
I just used an example. We had a sale last week of watch designs by the legendary watch designer Gerald Genter, who designed certain many of the world's sort of most famous watches for multiple brands. So the Royal Oak for Audemars Piguet is one of the examples, and the Nautilus that he designed. He created these designs by making these beautiful watercolors, a sort of A4 size, and he got a compass first, made the dial, and then painted the watch. And the family kept in the archives 3,250 of his designs. He was a very prolific watch designer. These watch designs would then go to the manufacturers, and they would be made into the watches that have been coveted today. He was always at the forefront of technology. He knew what watch collectors wanted before they did, and you know, over this is the 50th year anniversary of the Royal Oak. So we worked with the Genter Heritage Foundation to select 100 works from the archives, which have never been seen before, not even known to exist by most watch collectors. And because of that amazing provenance that we had going all the way back to the family, we decided to issue NFTs for each of the designs. Each design is unique, so they were sold with a digital twin, with an NFT that had not only a digital image of the design, but also a digital certificate of authenticity signed by the Genter estate. So that was in there, and then there were certain digital files that were unbefore seen. So we created a time-lapse video for the Royal Oak. There was some photo material of him with the original designs that he made. And we had this very successful sale last week, which added, additional value to the physical designs by selling them with a digital twin. And that's something that we, through our partnership with a company called Mojito, which is a Web3 white label company that we've invested in. We minted the NFTs ourselves, we brought them to market, and we did the usual storytelling that Sotheby's does to showcase the works of this artist.
So I heard a lot of Web3 here, and I just don't want the audience to be confused. There's something called Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3. If you guys can touch upon that, that would be great, because I just learned about it right now, and it's a whole new world to me. Again, I'm not digitally native. I don't even do online banking, so they can let you guys know about Web 1, Web 2, Web 3. I'm in Web 1. I'm not even, I think maybe getting to Web 2. Web 3, I'm far away from it. So Web 1 is...
Yeah, I'm happy to try to explain. Like, it's something that is very new, and even like people are still trying to get around what's the right way to define it. But like if we compare to the other development we've seen from the creation to the internet and to now, there is the Web 1, which would be technically the writing some blogs and you give the information and someone else can access to it. Web 2, it's it was a huge innovation. It's actually when you have companies like Facebook that enables a community to join one space and then to share interests. You can make friends and you join a community. And Web 3, it's actually when the community itself becomes the sort of the company. And instead of in Web 2, you would put your email address and your password and it is your space. Here, you would just connect your wallet and everything is on chain via the blockchain technology. And by doing this, you participate to a whole economy that is all happening automatically thanks to the blockchain technology. And it's very interesting actually to see that there are many new companies, new concept coming up and trying to see how the Web3, how if everyone has a wallet and is connected together, how they can enhance the economy in different sectors, etc. And it's still being developed and it's still very, very early stage, but it's it's the very beginning of it.
I'll meet you in Web 4. That's when I'm going to meet you. Do we have any more questions? Because I have a question myself. We have a question in the front here.
I wanted to ask, do NFTs have more value as investment pieces rather than artistic pieces? Because, I mean, otherwise they wouldn't be traded as often.
I think because the technology is the innovation itself is everyone agreed that it resolved a huge problem there were for digital artists, and so suddenly there have been a lot of frenzy around the technology itself, many actors speculating into it and many funds and investors getting into the market. So there is a very a lot of investment purpose for some of the actors when buying NFTs. But this is where actually we focus more on the art, the artist, etc., and try to be a bit more aware of the speculation, which is it's definitely then a more long-term vision than others who really think of the profit they can make in short term, etc. But I think there is everything, and in any sector as well, in traditional art, there is also an important part of speculation, of investment purpose when buying, etc. So also it comes from the crypto world, all the main actors. And that's evolving because we see some people not from the crypto getting into the market and have different interest, but the technology itself been created from the blockchain technology. So the audience was really from the crypto, so they used to do some crypto tradings, etc. So I'm not surprised that it started with a very speculative mindset and with a lot of flipping mentality. But that's it's evolving, I think, progressively to a more like to a more organic system.
Yeah, no, I would just say that some people who went in thinking that they were doing it purely to make money became really attached to their NFTs and couldn't bring themselves to sell them.
So I'm going to ask my question and then I'm going to open it back to the floor. So let's say, for example, a major museum and let's say the Louvre wants to NFT an artwork. Would that, because I was talking to Camilla about that on my right, does that work? How does that work? And who owns the NFT? Does the museum own, for a dead artist, for someone who's long gone, can we create this? Like, what is this idea? Or is it something that's completely in violation of IP, or is it something we're gonna see? What is? Can we touch upon that, or is this something like very still new?
Yeah, I'm happy. Like we receive a lot of like requests from museums or big collectors who have like some masterpieces in their collection, and they want to see how they could bring the NFT into create an NFT out of the physical piece. Taking a picture of the I don't know, like a very important work like the Mona Lisa and minted it in the NFT has like no artistic value. Like it's just a digital replica, the same way like any image would be, any print would be a digital replica. So for museums, there is maybe like an interesting thing they can do with NFTs, more like using the NFTs like as a postcard. When you go on the gift shop, you buy a postcard of the Mona Lisa, and there is like, and it's like they like to then put it like in your kitchen, or like in it's like a memory, in a souvenir of the exhibition. And the same way, I think it could have maybe this utility of like replacing maybe the physical replica we see in the gift shop for the museums, etc.
Yeah, I think museums are having more success in the concept of bringing to market an NFT of a work that will never leave the permanent connection of that museum than, say, your Warhol collector saying, you know, I have this Warhol, I'm going to keep it, but I would like to issue an NFT of it to assign additional value to myself. That is not being picked up by the community or picked up by the marketplace as having particular value, but certain museums have been able to have successful releases of works that they will not be releasing from.
So it's happened.
It has. The UFC is an example.
The British Museum has
Museum.
a whole series of NFTs of Hiroshige woodblock prints.
Yeah, and just about to release a work by Turner that only rarely comes into the main collection that can be seen because it for condition reasons it's kept back, and they're going to be releasing that as an NFT shortly.
So it might be interesting, and maybe this is me thinking in a very traditional art sense, in terms of repatriation of certain artworks from certain museums by certain nations, to have that like NFT exchange. I don't know. Maybe that's me thinking like in a very traditional art sense. Do we have any more questions? Yesterday I saw a lot of hands. I'm surprised today I don't see as many. But yes, do you have a question? Can we get the mic? Thank you.
What fascinates me the most about digital art is that you can essentially break it down to zeros and ones. So I was wondering or thinking more about that, and my question is, would that help us preserve art more? Since you can easily represent it, or you can easily have the whole data of a digital work of art. So would that, on the long term, help the efforts to conserve more works of art, whether it's
digital artworks or traditional?
Digital, yes, because you can look at it from a perspective where it's a set of pixels, and each pixel has an assigned number of 1 or 0. Sorry if it sounds too technical, but I come from a technology background.
No, that's fine.
So would that help us actually preserve the art piece?
Not well. In the case of early digital art, the art piece, from the artist's point of view, was the plot or drawing that they signed. So preserving the code that made it, it could be a separate project, and you could maybe reprint it. You know, and if the artist is alive, they could sign it again or something. But it's different from sort of an instantiation of that code. So most digital art has not been sold like NFTs as just an image that you would see on your screen. It was printed out in some way that was controlled by the artist. So just the code by itself wouldn't be sort of the final work in their minds.
The technology
Although
behind
there's
it.
an artistic aspect to the code, but
it's true that actually before the NFT, also at Sotheby's, like we sold in our contemporary art sale sometimes some digital art. Like for example, there is like Namjoon Paik is like the father of the video art, etc. He does, and I had myself like a problem with his work because like he does some TV sets, and you have like a VHS tape in it, and basically it was the VHS tape was damaged, and it was from the, I don't know, like the 70s or the 80s. And the studio, the artist estate / studio, like didn't really reply to our request when we asked for like maybe a restoration of the tape or anything. And so basically, like there were no way to retrieve the digital file, which is like the work of art. And that like raised like a real problem in where like the digital file is hosted. And for that reason, I think the NFT is like a great way to store and make sure that the work of art is sustainable in time.
it's also hard to archive digital files. So a lot of people feel like paper is often better. You know, like the Library of Congress printed everything with barcodes, and if you have digital files that you've had for a long time, you know, like sometimes they're on some sort of media that the player for it barely exists anymore. You'd have to buy it off of eBay because it's on a floppy disk or a SideQuest disk or optical cartridge, and there's code rot, and depending how the work was done, if it was a programmed piece of artwork, there's what the language it was programmed in, there's the operating system, there's the hardware it was meant to run on. It's hard to actually keep all those things archived and working indefinitely, whereas if you have a print with ink on archival paper, that's around for hundreds of years.
So how does NFT, sorry to touch upon that, so how does NFT art sustain concurrently with technology? Like how can NFTs evolve with technology? Or we don't know the answer to that.
I mean, they've only been around really in bulk for such a short period of time, and there are issues with NFTs because the token's on the blockchain, but the image or video is stored separately in something called the Interplanetary file system. Great name. And you have to pay people essentially to keep storing it, and if they stop getting paid, they don't store it anymore. So you could 10 years from now try to load up your NFT and have the token and have the image it was pointing to be inaccessible, and that's already happened to people.
But also that's like one way of storing the work, but sometimes also the token, when it can be like on-chain, what we call like on-chain metadata, and the token, and in the smart contract, it hosts the work itself. So it depends, there are like different categories. And
With generative artwork, that can happen because it's code that's going to generate the image, so that can be on-chain, but big images and video would be too expensive, like for Ethereum
I'm gonna
to be on-chain.
I promise you, generative art is the art that it changes as soon as it changes hands. Is that generative art?
No, that's one concept.
That's one concept.
That's one work, yeah.
So generative art is not the kind of art where the circle gets small. Sorry, I really, Web 1 here. Gets smaller and smaller and smaller until it starts with someone new and then it starts again. That wouldn't be considered generative art.
I think Anne is the best to explain the generative
Art that's produced by an algorithmic sort of recipe method, so the artist isn't doing every part of it. It's coming from a program. And from the traditional side, if you think of Salawit, he sells instructions for how to make his art. So then someone draws it, it's generated. So with generative art, the computer is the one that draws it, and usually there's some aspect of randomness and the unknown that helps guide the composition as well, unlike in Salawit.
And that's one of the works in the Biennale here by Bouhanna Chono. It's created with an algorithm, if I'm not mistaken.
The AI piece?
The AI piece, I
that's
think.
like a whole nother thing, though.
Not, yeah, okay.
But it's
No,
also,
not.
it's also something where the computer's doing something where the final result is unknown at the beginning, and then you get something, and often it's a delightful surprise for the artist.
Clearly traditional art person, not digital art person. Sir, I can have your question.
Yeah, Web 1 is not so bad, no? So it's
No.
very well understood. Now, my question is, if a wallet is hacked into and the NFT is burned, is there a way to recover it?
No. That's one thing about.
Shortest answer we've had to
That's
anything.
no, but that's true. Like it's one thing, and it raised a problem about like hacking, security, etc. And there are some steps to when you have valuable NFTs. There are some steps, some security procedure like to follow, etc. Making sure that you have the highest standard of security for your wallet. And we've seen many stories about hacking, etc., because like it's an issue in the blockchain. But also it comes because like there have been so many new people into the crypto who are not, who are like very new into the crypto in general, getting into the crypto, but just through the NFTs, and starting to hold a lot of value in their wallet, and not aware of all this culture of hacking, of how like what are the steps for security, etc. So that's like also like a very important side of how we should educate all these new collectors coming into the market to so they know how to do for the security of their wallet. Yeah.
So sorry, there wouldn't be something like art loss registry for the NFT world. Not yet.
No, you can still see it, but it won't be yours anymore.
Oh, so it exists.
Yeah, it exists. When it's burnt, actually, the NFT is sent to a void wallet. So it's basically a wallet that no one has access to or can like remove the NFT from around. So like there are some non-burn wallets who everyone, if they want to burn, they transfer it to this wallet. And there is no way to move the NFTs from this void wallet.
But if someone accesses your wallet and takes your NFTs, then they own them and you can't get them back.
So I have three questions. I'll start with the back and I'll come forward.
Okay. Hi again. So you guys were talking about burning or turning real art into an NFT. What do you think about the Banksy video that was published in 2021 when they burned the Moran's work by Banksy and then they turned it into an NFT? And also another question is Sotheby's creating their own metaverse? And if yes, are they partnering with other projects such as Decentraland or the Sandbox?
Don't we have a metaverse or no?
Yes, yeah, we do have a gallery. Yeah,
please check it out. It's in the. Okay.
Yeah, so we've created actually like the digital replica of our London galleries on Decentraland. And it was a great way for us both to really welcome at Sotheby's, but all this new community was very like comfortable in visiting the galleries digitally, and so it was great to see like all this new audience, very like who came for the first time at Sotheby's through the Metaverse. Yeah, and we exhibit like all our NFT sales, but also sometimes like when we have traditional sales, also we exhibit the works there. So we play around again this crossover of educating our traditional audience to NFTs, bringing them in the metaverse, and also the traditional and also the NFT audience to educate them to the traditional works.
And the Banksy question?
The Banksy, yeah, I think it was like a funny concept. Like for us as Sotheby's, like we would never like encourage anyone to burn and destroy a work of art that is signed by an original work of art. But I think in terms of concept, it's like very similar to what Damien Hurst done, and it's like it's raising this question of what's valuable, the NFT or the print. And actually, the NFT sold for way more than what the print would have sold for. So, but it was at the moment in last February, like where there were like anything with NFT, the NFT world related was selling very well. I think now people are more educated to it, etc.
Sir, I know you have a question.
Can I ask in Arabic?
Yes, I'm happy to translate.
حقيقة أنا أتابع التطورات في الفن كثير. حاولت أدخل في مجال ال NFT في بداياته. طلبني أحد الأصدقاء فنان من إيطاليا إنه نبيع أعمالي على أساس NFT. مشيت فيها شوية لقيت إنه العمولات فيها عالية يسمونها كوميشن توصل ل 80%. يعني لما أبيع بهذه لما آخر شيء يوصل 20% من المبلغ. هل هذا صحيح؟
So
تحت في شبكة مي سليمة.
He's a fellow artist and he's been going through the process of NFTs, and at the end he was working with a collaborator to create the NFT, and the commission reached around 80%. What is the commission structure? What is the usual structure for commissions when it comes to NFT? صح كده?
it really depends because we can we can help from the very brainstorming phase with an artist to launch their project, and and be part of the whole from the source, the brainstorming phase to the marketing. Yeah.
Translation, please.
الترجمة وصلت? Translation? Yes? Okay. I think you can.
So it really depends of basically the work we do with the artists. Sometimes we are there from the brainstorming phase to the marketing and then to the selling phase. Sometimes we just take a work from the secondary market. Usually our commissions are quite similar to what you said, around 20%. Yeah.
So he was.
You mean with auction houses?
No, he was working with a platform. حضرتك كنت بتشتغل مع فنان عشان يحول لك الفن إلى NFT ولا كنت بتشتغل مع موقع؟
لا هو فنان وعنده موقع وشغال في
No, he was working with a collaborator artist and a platform, and they asked for an 80% cut.
وبعدين كمان هو علمني حاجة إنه كيف يحول لوحات الزيت.
But it was 80% for him?
For the collaborator.
I know, it should be the other way around. Yeah.
هي المفروض يبقى العكس.
I stop.
It's upside down.
فحضرتك المفروض تاخد 80% وهو ياخد 20.
نعم. الحاصل في كل الأحوال بس أبغى أقول لكم حاجة إنه إلى شهور قريبة ما لقيت أحد يشتغل هنا لا في السعودية ولا في الخليج يقدر يساعدني في العملية هذه.
He hasn't found anyone yet here in the kingdom to help him support this. However, بس ممكن أقول لحضرتك حاجة متواجد هنا كتير يعني أهم حاجة حصلت في المؤتمر عندنا هنا إن إحنا قابلنا ناس كتيرة قوي موجودة في المملكة بتشتغل في عالم ال NFT وبتعمل حاجات كتيرة قوي في عالم ال NFT. فالمؤتمر ده يعني بيناول الناس إن هي تتقابل وتتكلم. في حضرتك ده أحسن مكان حضرتك وصلت له. I just said that this is the great location to meet people in the NFT world in Saudi Arabia. شكرا إن حضرتك منورنا النهاردة.
I want to know about interplanetary
File system. I thought it was made up the first time I heard it, but it's distributed nodes, kind of like the blockchain, all over. So things are stored redundantly, and you get paid in crypto to store people's files.
It sounds like Star Trek.
Right?
In data, are they in data centers or?
No, just on people's computers all over the world.
So anyone can be in this interplanetary system?
I believe so. I don't know for sure how you get to be part of it, but I think you can.
So they're not companies.
You can host. No.
I can host.
No. Yeah,
an
there are
image.
different nodes that host and but they get paid all the consistently.
I want to get paid.
To keep hosting everything.
Yes.
You're not on this planet.
Yes, basically it's really like everyone is participating to make it as much decentralized as possible. And so we come with the conclusion that there is so many servers that actually host this file that if it gets lost by half of the people for some reason or we don't know, will always be a way to retrieve actually the file.
There's a backup.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then how does that talk to the Void? The Void wallet?
No, the Void wallet, you can't access it. Finish. It's done. This is.
And then I guess also there wouldn't be any more money for continuing to store that information, and I'm not sure how that works technically. How you alert those nodes to stop storing information.
More to explore.
Yeah. There's a lot of technical things with NFTs, so all of us are learning all the time.
So I have time for one more question, and then I have to close it down. We have one in the back. Thank you guys all for being here with us tonight, and I hope to see you tomorrow for our last session. Yes.
Hello. So I have a question. Excuse my ignorance, but I'm just wondering, why would anyone buy a digital piece through NFTs? Like art is usually known for being traded in physical form. Since this is something very new, I know you own the IP after buying it, but what's the point, right? That's my question.
So
are you upset that it's a digital file instead of a physical object?
So not necessarily upset, but why would anyone make that investment for a digital art, right?
Because they like the way the image looks and or they want to resell it.
It's a new type of art. Like in every kind of art we've seen throughout history, whether it be Impressionism, there was a rejection towards Impressionism. Whether it was photography, there was a rejection towards photography. Video art, it's just a new
it's
form
a new
of
medium for the art world. You know, it's a new canvas for the art world in many respects. But I think there's also some digital artworks that could only do what they do if they were stored and created in a digital way. I just use a
circle thing.
Yeah, there's in the back room in the exhibition there is a work by Pac that that alters over the course of a year. A canvas can't do that. In our first natively digital sale that Micol put together, there was a work by Quasimodo, Maria Klingerman, that had eyes that moved around on the screen and occasionally blinked. When you stand there in front of that with a collector of physical works, and they start to think, oh, my Picasso can't blink like that, you know, and it adds something that that can't be in physical form. So
and you can add music, a multimedia, interactive things as well.
Clear, thank you.
And from a Web 1 person, it's a new type of art. We're learning as we go along, and anyone who's a collector always likes to have a diversity in their collection. So like I'm now like talking about if I should buy an NFT or not, and I never thought I would be at that point. And I think it's just if you're someone who has the collecting bug of buying art, you want to explore new mediums, new ways, and this new language. So I think it's something that historical collectors are looking at, and people who are in the crypto world are very well versed in it, so it's more familiar to them.
But it's completely understandable. And when I first heard about NFTs, I thought it was ridiculous, because why can't I just save that image from the web and look at it whenever I want? So
you can't right-click save. I learned that. That's something.
You can save it, but you don't own it.
I don't own it. I
Yeah.
can just right-click save, but I can't own it.
It takes a while. You have to think about it and be involved in it to see how it all makes sense. So it's not a bad question at all. When you first think about it, it's like, what is that?
I think I have one last question, if anyone has a question. If not, yes, you have a last question again? Inshallah.
NFT auction.
Inshallah, we will be seeing, can I take the liberty of saying that? Yes, inshallah, we will be seeing an auction by Sotheby's in the kingdom. Micol will help us with the curated element of NFTs, but inshallah, this is coming your way soon, and we are very excited to be here, and we couldn't be more humbled by this this presence and experience and collaboration with the Ministry of Culture and the Visual Arts Commission. So I really thank you. Thank you for offering this.
Thank you, everyone.